The first thing I remember isn't the sound of the slap. It's the silence right after it. That thick, suffocating quiet where a whole room decides who you are in a single second. One moment I was just standing there holding a glass I didn't even like, trying not to look awkward, and the next, my face was burning. My ears were ringing, and every conversation in that ballroom stopped at once. You could feel it, like the air itself leaned away from me. And in that moment I knew exactly how they saw me. Not as a guest, not as an equal, as a mistake. I shouldn't have been surprised. That night was full of people who looked like they owned the city. Old money smiles, tailored suits, diamonds that caught the light on purpose. The kind of room where last names mattered more than character, where people asked where you went to school before they asked your name. I was wearing a simple black dress, nothing flashy. Comfortable shoes, hair pulled back. I came straight from a long day, and honestly, I was tired. Tired in that deep, bone-level way you get when you've spent years proving yourself to rooms that never planned on believing you anyway. I had an invitation. A real one. Printed, embossed my name spelled correctly, but when I walked past the champagne table, one woman looked at me a second too long, then another. You know that look, the one that says, "You don't match the picture in my head." I tried to ignore it. I always do. You learn to. But then she stepped closer, his cold smile tight, and said loud enough for people to hear, "Who let you in?" I laughed at first, not because it was funny, but because I thought she must be joking. People don't just say things like that out loud, right? Turns out they do, especially when they think the room is on their side. She grabbed my wrist hard, and before I could even process what was happening, her hand came across my face. Not dramatic, not slow motion. Just fast and sharp and humiliating. Her family closed in like it was rehearsed. One of them knocked my clutch out of my hand. Another pulled at my scarf. Someone kicked my bag across the floor and laughed when everything spilled out. Lip balm, a phone, a folded boarding pass. Nothing interesting, but that didn't stop them from commenting. Cheap, fake, probably stolen. Words like that started flying, and every single one landed because the crowd let it. Phones came out. Of course they did. People love a spectacle, especially when they don't think they'll ever be held responsible for enjoying it. Someone was filming. Someone else went live. I heard my own humiliation narrated like entertainment. "She's just standing there," a woman said into her camera voice, dripping with amusement. Like she doesn't even realize she's been caught. Caught doing what? Existing in the wrong body, in the wrong room, I guess. I wanted to disappear. I won't lie about that. There's a part of you when something like this happens that wants to shrink, to apologize, just to make it stop. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. My hands were shaking, and chocolate from a dessert table I'd fallen into earlier was smeared across my dress. I must have looked exactly how they wanted me to look. Messy. Out of place. Guilty. Security showed up, not rushing to protect me, not asking what happened. Just standing there waiting to be told what to do. The woman who slapped me spoke calmly now, confidently, like she was back in control. "She doesn't belong here," she said. "She needs to be removed before something goes missing." I asked if I could make a phone call. One call. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't argue, I just asked. The guard shook his head. "You can do that later," he said, "if necessary." My phone kept buzzing in my hand. I could feel it. Message after message, call after call. I didn't look yet. I glanced at my watch instead. Old habit, a grounding thing. Time matters to me, it always has. They kept talking. Threats started slipping in casually like they were just stating facts. Police connections, lawyers, media. The implication was clear. This could get very ugly for me very fast, and no one in that room would lose sleep over it. I was outnumbered, outvoiced, and on camera. Perfect conditions for a public execution of character. And then something in me snapped. Not loudly, not violently, just quietly, firmly. I realized I was done trying to earn my place in rooms like this. I was done letting people decide my worth based on how comfortable I made them feel. So when my phone lit up again, I didn't answer. I turned the screen around instead and held it up so the head of security could see. I watched his expression change, and I knew. I didn't need to say a word. He leaned closer, then he leaned back. His posture shifted like someone had just pulled the ground out from under his feet. He whispered something into his radio, and suddenly the room didn't feel quite so confident anymore. The laughter died first, then the whispers. I turned the screen outward, slowly. Let them all see what they were so sure couldn't be true. My name. My company. The numbers that made people uncomfortable when they had to confront them. Revenue. Contracts. Influence. A net worth that didn't fit their narrative of who I was supposed to be. The live stream went quiet. Not off, just quiet. Comments scrolling so fast they blurred into each other. Shock has a sound too, by the way. It's the absence of noise where noise used to be. "That's not real," one of them said. His voice cracked on the word not. I finally spoke then. "It is," I said. Calm, almost gentle. "I just don't dress my balance sheet." You could feel the power shift. It wasn't dramatic, but it was absolute. People who had been leaning in were suddenly leaning back. Phones lowered. A few guests started deleting videos, eyes wide, hands shaking. The woman who slapped me looked confused, like someone who'd stepped into traffic and only just noticed the headlights. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folded document. Donation confirmation. Signed that morning. A number that made everyone in the room inhale at the same time. I was the biggest donor of the night. The irony didn't escape me. But I wasn't interested in watching them beg. That's not who I am. I wanted something else. Something that lasted longer than embarrassment. So I told them what would happen next. Not as a threat, as a choice. Public apologies. Real ones. Not notes written by lawyers. Structural changes. Money redirected to causes they'd ignored. Policies rewritten. Training implemented. Consequences that matched the harm. I laid it all out calmly, clearly, like I was in a boardroom instead of a ballroom. They had 60 seconds to agree. Or they could find out what it felt like to be dismissed without a second thought. They agreed. All of them. Fast. Weeks later, I watched the apologies roll out. Some awkward, some painful, some surprisingly sincere. I saw companies change hiring practices, foundations restructure, platforms shift focus. It wasn't perfect. It never is. But it was real. Here's the part people argue about. Some say I went too far, that I humiliated them the way they humiliated me. Others say I didn't go far enough, that they deserved worse. I don't agree with either side. This was never about revenge. It was about correction. I walked into that room underestimated. I walked out having reminded everyone, including myself, that dignity doesn't require permission. And power doesn't always look like shouting. Sometimes it looks like standing still while the world realizes it made a very public mistake. So here's my question for you. Was I right, or did I cross a line? Have you ever watched someone be judged before they were known, or been that person yourself? Tell me what you think. I want to hear your side because conversations like this are how rooms change, even the ones that never thought they needed to.